What's going on, you guys? Welcome back to EP09. Look, I know. I disappeared after the Arnold Classic prejudging. Had a few of you guys reach out to me asking, where have I been for the last 2 weeks? Well, for those of you that may not be aware, I actually run a commercial diving company as my day job, and we had a boat that sank at the dock after it caught fire, not far from where I live, actually. So my diving company was contracted to assist with removing this vessel. We did end up getting it up and out. It is a done deal, but it was a ridiculous 2 weeks of 14 to 15 hour days. Look, YouTube is not my full-time job. This is what I do in order to pay the bills. So thanks for those of you that reached out and asking me where the hell I've been. And we are starting with a good one today. Colossus Ken at 9 weeks out from his pro debut at the New York Pro. You guys, this is an extreme underdog going into this show. He looks absolutely ridiculous right now. The proportions, absolutely insane. You can see that conditioning factor is really starting to come in. We can see the vascularity. He is right on track for where he wants to be for 9 weeks out. And Colossus Ken really considers himself a dark horse going into this show. You know, this being his pro debut and especially choosing the New York Pro of all competitions in order to do so, he could be up against some very stiff competition. We do not have a confirmed competitors list as of yet. Regan Grimes expressing interest very early of doing this show. How is a guy like Colossus Ken really going to compare to someone like Regan Grimes? Well, as of right now, I think he can do very well. It's really going to come down to the conditioning factor because we have seen significant size increases from Colossus Ken over the last couple of years. Even as recently as 11 weeks out, Colossus Ken posing here with John Jewett and with legend of the sport, Evan Centopani. And you can see the size difference from when Colossus Ken earned his pro card at the 2023 North Americans, and now absolutely insane the size that this guy put on. I think he got up to around 280 pounds when it came to his peak in the offseason, really where he was just trying to put on that size in order to be more competitive in the Pro League. And it is safe to say that he has done exactly that. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a very exciting newcomer to the IFBB, making his pro debut this year. And I think that he can do very well. Working with a seasoned coach like Andrew Vu as well, I think if he can bring that conditioning and he does keep that waistline in check, this guy can be very dangerous going into this show. Now, there may actually be opportunity to see Colossus Ken compete as well at the Copyright Strike Classic. If you guys know, you guys know. Where he'd be going up against a guy like Tony O'Burton, a seasoned vet finishing 8th place at his best in the Olympia. This is going to be a very interesting couple of shows in the first quarter of bodybuilding. But you guys let me know what you think about Colossus Ken. I think he is definitely one of the most exciting newcomers that we're seeing in the open division going into 2025. I think he has a great chance at showing a fantastic physique during his pro debut. But like I said, you guys let me know what you think about Colossus Ken. But from what I'm seeing right now, this could be one of the most exciting pro debuts of the 2025 season. And as we are 2 weeks post-Arnold Classic currently, Mike Sommerfeld with a check-in video he sent to his coach, Neil Yoda Hill. And Mike looks absolutely ridiculous considering the fact that he's calling this his recovery phase. Well, look, if this is Mike in recovery, you know, what's Mike going to look like once he starts to put on a bit more size in order to come into the 2025 Olympia? Not that he needs any more size. I think that the Arnold Classic really set Mike apart from the rest of the competition, especially given the fact that Wesley Vissers, we know, will not be in that Olympia this year. And look, Wesley is actually a whole other conversation at this point. We'll get to that at some point in a later video. But I think that Mike really has separated himself from the pack by quite a wide margin. You know, we'll have to see who else shows up to the show and in what kind of shape, but just even consider from the back alone, the width that Mike had from the back was absolutely not even comparable. He absolutely was the widest guy on stage. Conditioning wise, we did see some decent competition when it came to some of these other guys. You know, Matt Grego showed up in ridiculous condition. Obviously, Logan Franklin But look, the structure that Mike has cannot be denied, and that is one of the reasons why he ended up winning that title. But I think given what we witnessed at this Arnold Classic from Mike, the question needs to be asked, will Mike Sommerfeld be the dominant champion of the division moving forward? Does anybody even compare with this physique? I've seen some questions out there regarding whether or not Mike should switch to the open class because he seems to have more of a bodybuilding type physique. And you know what? I don't necessarily disagree with that to a certain degree. I talked about the width of the back. Well, Mike is so wide from the back that he would compare very well, I think, in the open division. He'd need more size, of course. I think that for Mike to really do well in the open, he would need, again, more size, but specifically bigger arms in particular. But why would the guy switch to the open division when he is on top of the world in classic physique? This could be a dominant champion in the division. And one of the reasons that Mike is definitely, I think, in my mind, a classic competitor is simply from his overall presentation. You know, the way that he presents himself on that stage does play a significant role when it comes to the definition of a classic physique competitor. Breon Ainsley is a perfect example of that as well. When Breon said he was going to switch to 212, we were seeing updates from Breon where he was putting out posing as if he was still doing classic. You know, he would have certain twists to him when it came to the front double bicep. He needed to do shots straight on, and Mike has that flair. He has that classic flair in his posing. One of the reasons that makes him definitely a classic physique competitor. And I really think that his structure is well suited for the division. So from what we are seeing so far, is there anyone that can come in and challenge Mike Sommerfeld going into the 2025 Olympia? You guys let me know what you think about that in the comments below. As of right now, I think he's going to be a very difficult champion to defeat. And with just 2 weeks left to go until the Detroit Pro, the next show on the docket for the IFBB Pro League season, James Hollingshead drops an update at 2 weeks out where he is looking absolutely fantastic. You know, a very short window between the Arnold Classic and the Detroit Pro. One of the reasons why I think competitors enjoy the fact that they can go and do a show like that. James finishing in 8th place at the Arnold, I don't think was a fair representation of the physique that he can really bring to the bodybuilding stage. It was his first round of competition with Bossofoutlaw, Stefan Kinzel, and they know that they have improvements that they can make at this point. One of the big things going into the show that these guys learned about James's physique is that he needs more food. James was underfed going into the Arnold Classic. And, you know, James is a very regimented guy when it comes to his food in particular. One of the fun facts about James, eats potatoes instead of rice. He prefers potatoes because he can actually get in more potatoes when it comes to volume of food than he could with rice. So one of the reasons James does that, keep fuller. In this case, James needs even more food in order to fill out. And so that is one of the things that they will be changing going into the show. We can expect a better version of James Hollingshead, I think, going into the Detroit Pro. James still absolutely unapologetic in his training. He is doing the heavy weight. He is doing the drop sets. He is doing the supersets. You guys, this is the way that James Hollingshead does things. And you know what? This is what's created some of that muscle density that we really see from a guy like James. And again, the look at the Arnold was not bad. The conditioning factor, I think, was mainly there. Maybe we could see a little bit more detail out of that side leg, you know, shoulder striations, chest striations, things like that. But overall, I think the conditioning factor for James was very good. So if James can come in just a little bit sharper and a little bit fuller to that Detroit Pro, I think he can definitely be on track to have his best showing to date. And I know we talk about it sometimes, but honestly, just one of the most likable guys in the sport, you know. He's got such a good attitude when it comes to bodybuilding. His continuous approach to just be better every time he steps on that stage. So look, you guys, you let me know what you think about this version of James Hollingshead. Do you think that we will see a better version of James Hollingshead at the Detroit Pro? And do you think James will go on to get his Olympia qualification this year? You know, I really want to see it happen for the guy. And one thing is for sure, there's still plenty of opportunities left in the 2025 season. And rounding out this video, we have an update from Nick Walker at 8 weeks out of the Pittsburgh Pro. Nick putting an extreme amount of focus on the legs this year. Of course, that's the one thing that Nick has always needed to bring up in order for him to really balance out his physique, which a lot of people think that he's actually done at this point, where many people said that Nick wouldn't even be able to gain any amount of quad sweep to make it even appear that he has a semblance of balance from top to bottom. Now, I think that Nick has actually done very well when it comes to the improvements in the legs. Nick wearing his new Who the Fuck is Bob shirt, 8th place. Of course, I'm sure everybody is aware of the battle between Nick Walker and Bob Ciccarello happening online right now. Honestly, I'm glad that I missed the majority of that whole thing. I mean, it's still ongoing, but it's just ridiculous. Let Nick do his thing. Let Bob do his thing. Like, let's just move on, all right? One of the more recent updates from Nick here, and it looks like we are getting the mutant back, you guys. This is the freak factor that we have been missing from Nick Walker. Look at the size of the arms on Nick. This is what we want to see. We want to see that freak factor. The judges want to see that freak factor. So if Nick can really bring this to the stage with that conditioning factor, of course, this is his first round working with new coach Kyle Wilkes. This is going to be very, very difficult to defeat. We've heard Nick speak about how his back is up against the wall, how he knows that it is do or die time when it comes to his bodybuilding career as of right now. But Nick actually doubling down on that in his most recent YouTube video and really showing that confidence that we were used to seeing when Nick was really at the high point in his career. Check it out.
I will be the champion. I will be Pittsburgh Pro champ. I will be in the top 3 of the Mr. Olympia again. And nobody's going to tell me different. Nobody can. I can read whatever you people want to say on the internet. I can read that bullshit. And I laugh at it. I laugh at it because, I feel myself. I feel it. And the more y'all doubt me, the more y'all talk your shit, it feels me. This is where I thrive now. And y'all pretty much have just fucked up. So I'm coming head on. And no one's going to change that for me at all. I'm going to be the champion. I will not lose. And I will be the last one standing.
So that Nick Walker confidence is definitely coming through. But I don't think that the Nick Walker arrogance that we were used to seeing before is necessarily coming through. He's very confident, but he definitely knows that he really just can't come out and say, I'm defeating everyone, I'm winning the Olympia this year. But I do think that he could be justified in his confidence when it comes to the Pittsburgh Pro. He does look to be at his best. He is getting back that size. He is on track here, I think, for about 8 weeks out. One of the other new approaches for Nick is that he is not getting ready early for the show when it comes to conditioning. Him and Kyle Wilkes taking a little bit of a different approach, being on track more so than just being ready early, which I think is going to allow Nick to really hang on to that size factor. Little bit of a risk when it comes to this because Kyle Wilkes never getting Nick down to those really, really low body fat levels before, never really doing a peak before, so there's no opportunity to really come in and screw this up. They got to get it right the first time. Nick has to get it right the first time, you guys. We have to see the mutant back on stage at his 100%. My question for you guys, are we going to see it? So look, I'm going to wrap up the video right here. Make sure to go to BayouMuscle.com, use code EP10 at checkout. I appreciate everybody going over to use my discount code. We'll see you guys in the next video. And as always, thank you for tuning into EP09. Be sure to like and subscribe.